I'll be getting all three of these meetups from August and September now up into our member dashboard. I'll send out an email for all of you guys just so you guys can access those. Our next meetup will be in 2 weeks on September 21st. And Steve and I wanted to kind of do something different this time, and that is a kind of an open forum, an open conversation. And I'll send out emails for you guys for that, but come with questions, come with ideas. Let's all help each other out, etc. So our first meetup that we did was actually on organizational resources at the board or admin level. We looked at the development guide. Our second meetup, we looked at Start Baseball Right and youth, real little kid youth baseball training. Tonight, we're going to be looking at practice planning and implementation. So I'll turn that over to Steve and see what he's got to say, and we'll go from there.
Yeah. Hey guys, when from an organizational standpoint, it's really important that I think that we get our coaches that understand and appreciate the value of a good practice plan. And the reason why that's so important, it really is multiple reasons. Number one, as an organization, if you can sell your coaches on practice plans and actually teach them what a practice plan is and how to use it, what's going to happen is you're going to have better baseball. You're going to have better experiences for your parents and your players. You're going to have a better experience for your coaches. So it really is kind of something that can separate your organization from the others. And when you have when you provide the opportunity for coaches to have practice plans, I also believe that we should expect, and we're not going to get into this tonight, but we should expect a coach to have a coaching portfolio that he will submit when he's done. But to get back to the practice plan, here is why it should be important to the coaches. The organizations can help make themselves stand out by doing this for the coaches. But for the coaches, here's the deal. Practice plans provide for pace and progressivity, the progressiveness of drills. So pace, when you're designing a practice, you have to understand pace. If you have a good pace to your practice, you are actually teaching your kids how to play the game with that pace. I'm going to give you an example of good pace. Good pace is you've got base running for 10 minutes. You've got playing catch for 6 minutes. You've got a throwing drill for 3. You've got then drill work, you break up into drill work and you follow the pace. Everything stays on time, in pace, and you don't let the practice drag, and the kids are hustling everywhere they need to go, and you create good pace. And when your team plays a game and you practice with good pace, they play the game with good pace. Win or lose, pace is something that's derived from your practice. Pace is very important. Now, bad pace would be you have the good practice plan laid out and you're doing your cuts and relays part of practice, and you're not happy as a coach with what you see. And, it's okay to fudge just a minute or two, but you're really getting pissed now. And all of a sudden, that 12 minutes for cuts and relays takes 25 minutes. You've lost your pace, and you probably lost half your kids. Okay, so you don't want to lose your pace. Second thing is the progressive nature of a practice. Things that you do in base running on practice 1 aren't going to be the same that you do on practice 2 or practice 5. You're going to progressively add more and more. Okay, that's team stuff. But what about skill stuff? The skill set that you're teaching kids on how to field a ground ball. What you do during the first practice, you will do a little bit quicker pace in the second practice, and then you will add things to that. Okay, and the other thing is a very simple part of progressivity is the idea when you teach kids how to make an off-balance play. You start by putting the ball in their glove and your feet are staggered and they don't even make a throw. and then all of a sudden they'll make a throw about 10 feet, and then all of a sudden you'll have them move to a stationary ball, and then you'll wind up rolling a ball. And these are different progressive parts of teaching the skill. So in other words, before you get to the final skill set of making an off-balance play, you've got these other sub skills that you need to teach. So the progressive nature of a practice is important. A lot of guys will go and see a really cool drill on the internet and they'll throw it in their practice, and they won't have any idea that that's the final part. That's awesome, but the kids can't do it. They need other sub skills before they can do that pretty cool thing that you're trying to implement. So the progressive nature of practice planning is important, as well as the pace of your practice is really important. And we're really fortunate with Coach Baseball Right, because we've developed practice plans for you, and we've also developed a tool that would allow you not to feel like you have to follow ours. You can use our tool to build your own practices. And I think that's where we're going to go right now.
Yeah, let me show you this real quick, and then we'll jump into kind of what you guys are thinking with this. Let me share my screen with you. So many of you guys have access to this. You guys have administrator accounts, free administrator memberships, or you have organizational memberships. So in your member dashboard, you've got your admin resources that we've talked about. But I also want to show you guys this, right? If you have a free coach or free administrator account membership, you have access to this youth practice template. If you know, if your coaches do not have this, send them the link, right? Click on this, copy, paste it, whatever you've got to do, but they need to get this practice template. It is free. You just sign up for a free membership and you can access it right underneath the coaches guides and practice templates. For member organizational members, some of you guys are that. You guys have access to our youth practice templates. We've got 10 of those. I think 8 actually. We've got 10 general and 10 advanced. We've got a hitting practice template. We even have home practice plans that we created at the beginning of COVID 2 years ago. We have the practice builder, where you can literally drag and drop, or drop down menu and design your own practice template. Up above, for administrators, we have the Start Baseball Right. That's what we did last week, our last meetup. That has a template in it as well. We are really big on templates, right? How do we create pace? How do we help coaches create pace? How do we help administrators help their coaches create pace and a progressive nature of practice? These are just some examples. Some are free through our free memberships, and some are through our organizational membership, where all coaches will have access to all of this. So those are just a couple things here that we offer. Let me turn it to you guys. What do you guys tell your coaches? What do you do for your coaches in your organization to implement this practice planning concept that Steve talked about?
Should we start at a club level, do you reckon, guys, and then go to rep level? Because it's different, isn't it? Jason, Gary?
Yeah, it is a bit different. It's a bit more less organised at the club level, I think.
Yeah, so club level here in Australia, it's you might have the president of the club, for example, might be baseball knowledge, and then there might be a few baseball knowledge dads underneath, but it's lots of parents coming to help. And at the moment, I don't know what Seasiders have. I'm a Forest Baseball. These guys are Pittwater and Seasiders. We just have a coaching booklet, and you pretty much pick what you want, and that's your goal. But a goal might only be train for an hour once a week. So that 1 hour, you're just concentrating on one thing. It might just be fielding a ball for 1 hour, and you're just trying to get kids to 6 Fs and maybe have a throw at first. Or one session might just be throwing properly. So not dropping the elbow down, not cutting the ball off, getting behind the ball and through. Or it might just be an hour of hitting, which is tee, flips, and then live BP in a game of 1, 5, 10 at the end. I think, is that what you guys do at club as well for Pittwater and Seasiders along those lines?
Yeah, we encourage our coaches to get accredited, but we don't. They just do their own thing. So personally, I've used those templates, but that's just because I happen to find them. It wasn't, we don't coordinate things as well as we possibly could, which is no criticism. I think we're a good club and we have some really good coaches, but we don't have oversight of what each coach does in that way. So it's a bit hit and miss, I think is fair to say.
And then, so Jason and I coach together at rep level, so representative, so like the local district. So that's Manly for us.
Like the charter representative team for you guys. Yeah.
Yeah. So at that level, we pick the best 12 to 14 kids at a trial. And then that's 3 training sessions a week, 2 hours each session. And that's when we further break it down. One session will just be, it might just be hitting in bullpens. And then the next session might just be pitching and catching drills. And then there's a team session once a week where we'll do infield, outfield, and then just some hitting in an igloo with situational hitting and base running. Do you guys want me to go in more detail, or does that kind of summarize it up all right?
So guys, if I could throw in a thought here, I would say that, and if I'm wrong, you guys tell me, okay? Because this is just a guess on my part. It seems to me that we are all creatures of kind of the environment we're in. And if the environment you are in presented the game of baseball that way to you, then you will probably continue to do that, to present the game to your kids and so forth. It's kind of like a cycle. And one of the things I would like to say is that I think there might be another way that would lend itself more to the kids. They would learn more, they would have more fun, and you would keep them interested if maybe you tried a different approach. The other thing is, over here in our country, I've heard this excuse sometimes. We have pretty competitive ball, and then we have, quote, rec ball, right? Rec ball. And the rec ball people say things like this. They say, well, it's only rec ball. Nobody cares. We don't need it. And I say those kids deserve everything that any other kid who plays this game gets. In other words, I'm looking at it from the future of the game's point of view. If you give kids a rec poor experience, you've lost that guy when he's 30. He's not going to be a baseball fan. If you give a rec kid a great baseball experience, he may be a baseball fan down the road, and he may be a great coach for his kid down the road. So I don't buy the idea that it's only rec ball. And again, that's I'm talking to our rec people over here, not you guys. I think we should provide rec ball to the same darn resources, high quality stuff that we would expect our, quote, our more serious club coaches to have. Just a thought.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah, Steve, I think I absolutely agree, because and the way it's set up for us is rec ball feeds into the representative, so that becomes the the highly competitive, competing for the state national championships, and then the possibility for the Little League World Series. That's what that feeds into, but all of that feeds through the rec ball, the club ball here, and one of the things that we're working on is trying to prepare for all of our club ball, exactly what you're discussing here around training plans, to be able to provide all coaches at all different levels and so you've got your season-long training plan, your progressive training plan of developing kids, and really game-based within those trainings, to keep them interested, keep them excited, having fun, so you don't have a situation where you've got 12 kids lined up waiting each for a ground ball, one at a time. You've got multiple stations where you can, based on, the support from other parents and things along those lines. But that's what we're working on in the background right now. And with the basis of the developing the base skills at that rec club level, so that when you get to that representative level, that same training program, it becomes the next, when you in the represent program, it just becomes the next iteration of that, not something new, something different. And so you're developing all the way up through. That's the plan. That's what we're working on, trying to lead into this season. And it'll be a start for us, but hoping and expecting, then that's something that all of our clubs are using with a similar language, similar sort of approach to bring kids through, trying to make them excited, having more fun.
That's exactly, really, that's awesome. And I'm glad that, it seems like you're understanding that, and maybe whether it's Coach Baseball Right or some other organization, that's the beauty of what we're trying to do, is to provide you those resources so you have some consistency within the club.
Yeah, and I believe, and I don't know, Steve, Tom, you might, I don't know if the name Mark Lowe rings a bell or not.
Sure.
Okay, so Mark's the one that's leading the charge for us. He's the president of Pittwater, but he's also as a competition committee for Manly. He's the one that's leading the charge, and so much of his thought process is based off of what you've put together here with the Coach Baseball Right.
Mark was the guy that introduced me to Steve a few years back.
Right.
That's how yeah.
Small world.
One thing that you guys haven't talked about with the practice plan, and maybe this might be in the weeds a little bit, but you've got kids that are coming up and you've got parents who are going to ask questions about what's the progression. If you've got a good practice plan and you keep an inventory of it, like Coach was saying, you can then fall back to that. And when you have consultations with the parents, you've got hard proof of stuff that you've talked about. You can show them, hey, here's the stuff that we're working on. This is where we're excelling. This is what we're doing to get them better. Then you can also help them by doing stuff at home and saying, here's some of the drills that you can take home and work with them on their own. I think that goes a long way, because it'll save you a lot of headaches, time, and then it makes sure it holds you accountable as a coach to make sure you're covering the things that are in your practice plan and keeping the right pace, so that later in the future you can fall back on it. So that's one of the things I like about practice plan.
And guys, the other thing is and we talked briefly about it 2 weeks ago, but the coaching portfolio would have a beginning, a practice from the beginning of the year, a practice from the middle of the year, a practice from the end. So we could have our coaches, we could see what our coaches are doing, and we could expect maybe a higher degree of coaching practices, of practice plans, if we expect something of our coaches. But how do the coaches know what to give us if we don't have a model for them to grab from? So we have to provide that leadership within the organization by providing the model.
I want to make sure that Tyler, Anthony, Chuck, Mike, do you guys have anything? I want to make sure that you guys are in the conversation too.
Standing by, listening very well. Appreciate you guys doing this again. We did have a discussion tonight in our board meeting. Rec ball, we're in desperate need of coaches. Some of the travel ball guys have now stepped up and said, let us come in and do some practices with the rec ball teams. And just wondering what you guys think about that.
So I would say this, if you've got a good leader, a good travel ball guy, and he wants to help out, providing he's on the same page as the organization, I think it's great. What I would try to advocate, maybe just as much, if not more, is this. You're going to rely on parents who never played our game to coach our kids. It's inevitable. That is the world we live in. But your parents may not want to step up if they don't feel they have any ropes, if they don't feel they have anything to grab onto to actually do it. So you've got people that are willing, but they're going to stay back until you as an organization sell them on the idea that you have the resources for them to step up. And if you do that, and you can provide the resources, something similar to what we're talking about, now I think you can grow it. Short-term fix might be a travel coach working with a parent, maybe. Long-term fix is to provide the resources and the leadership to grow your organization. I've often found it amazing that organizations think that all they need to do, supply fields, get umpires, okay, make sure the field's chalked, make sure we tell the coaches where to buy their balls or get their balls at, and send a schedule, and we've done our job. But we don't give our coaches the tools they need to coach. And I'm not just talking about coaching baseball. I'm talking about to be able to stand up and do the little things that good coaches do to help kids grow up. You know, like how many coaches really feel they can go to their best player and say, hey, you're not hustling hard, man. You're going to sit. I mean, a lot of guys, they know that they should do it, but won't because they don't have anything behind them. They don't know that they can or should. But this is where organizations can really do, I think, a much better job, provide the resources that the coaches need and sell the people that want to step up but won't, that you've got their back and you've got the resources available to them.
Yeah, I think that's a great point, and that's kind of hits home really where I'm coming from. So I help run it's a rec program. So I think some of the stuff you guys were talking about earlier really hit home, and I think where I'm coming from and what our challenge is trying to set that framework for a mass of volunteer coaches that start all the way down from T-ball, all the way up through, the 15, 16-year-old level. And I think, when I joined the board and made my, way to vice president, I think that's what I'm just trying to figure out. How can we instill something like that in this organization that's just kind of gone, we've had a lot of success. It's a good, healthy program, but we don't have that framework in place. And, I think I don't want to say we're so far down the road, but it's just, there's nothing there. So it's, where do you start and how do you get that implemented and how do you get people to buy in? And I think, I think having the framework, I think, like you said, Steve, is a great way to help sell some of those parents who may be reluctant, especially down at the lower levels, which is where we typically have more trouble, finding people to step up and coach.
Hey, Tyler, I'm going to let John sneak in here. Go ahead, John.
So Chuck and Tyler, simple question. How do you guys get your umpires? Do you send them to school? Do you do any umpire training, or do you just get guys to say, hey, I want to umpire?
We have an association.
Yeah, we actually have two. We have an association for our upper levels. So for the, like the 10 and up. So we have a local association that we pull from. For our minor division, which is 8 through 10, we're using the last, I think probably 4 or 5 years, we've been using kids who have come through the program, who are still in the program playing baseball, real serious baseball kids, and we're trying to get them kind of into the flow and train them a little bit and seeing if that's something that they're interested in doing. But ultimately, if they're going to go on, it'll be through one of the local associations.
So I asked that question because I kind of knew the answer, so to speak, because we do the same thing here. Like the different areas have their umpires and they get some of the kids in there, some adults that umpire, but they send them through a training and they give them some education and background. What coaches got with his program and Baseball Right, bring the parents in and just show them and set them down and say, hey, here's what we can do to help you so that you feel comfortable coaching the team. I think you'll probably win over more parents than you can imagine, just because now they've got the tool. And in this day and age, heck, right now, we're talking to Australia and North Carolina, everywhere, and we're doing this right here. You can do the same thing with just a group of coaches for an hour a week, one night a week. And heck, you could almost set up a game plan for them. And Chuck, that might solve your problem by being able to do that with your coaches that you want to come in and say, hey, here's something you can do. Let's talk about what you did in practice. How well did you accomplish and grasp that? Now let's put together a plan to move you to the next stage so that we can get a foundation, get the building blocks. And the next thing you know, you've got kids that are starting out in T-ball and then moving on up to coach pitch to kid pitch, and they're progressing with a great foundation. And you got a heck of a league now all of a sudden. So that would be what I would think would be a good way to start.
Hey, Tyler, I also want to throw out two things. I'm meeting with some of the guys from Australia. And Gary, if I'm not mistaken, I know we're going to do our hitting and all that, but I think we kind of plan on doing a base running thing coming up where.
Yeah, I think there'd be interest in that, Steve.
So I think that, you know, you can do things like this with the technology. People don't even have to leave their home. And then we can record it, or you can record it, and then you can actually make it available to the coaches on your organizational website. The other thing I was going to say is that I just finished a Start Baseball Right here in St. Louis. I had 12 kids. I had 12 parents that were involved. From that group of 12 parents, I now have 12 potential coaches. Okay, 12 potential coaches, because every one of those parents they had a responsibility during Start Baseball Right. They were all involved. You know, I sent down practice plans to them. They had the accessibility to our Start Baseball Right program. They could see what we were going to do on the videos. We did it. They asked questions. We met beforehand without any of the kids to go over how things were going to work. I'm telling you guys, if you start baseball right with your kids at 4 and 5, I guarantee you will have them at 6 and 7. They won't drop off. And you will also have coaches that are now going to be ready to go. So I would encourage you to increase your expectations on your Start Baseball Right program.
I do want to interject here. It is after 8:30 our time. Gary, I can't imagine what time it's there. I'm sure there's a quick calculation.
11:30. We're all wet.
Always lunchtime.
We've ducked out from work. We're meant to be working.
Gotcha. But I'll speak for Steve and I, Steve for sure, but we'll stick on for anybody who wants to, but I don't want to monopolize your night or morning. So anyway, just wanted to give you guys an out if you need to. So
this is Mike here in Austin, Texas. I wanted to 100% concur with Steve and Tom. You know, there's a saying, the garden that grows is the garden you tend. And the best time to start tending your garden is early and often, right? And so if you're worried about what kind of support, whether it's parental or coaching support that you're going to have downstream, it's really important to start building and cultivating that interest early. I'm on my third program that I'm involved in trying to plant, and we're diving, rather than focus our attention really where you want it, which is with those older kids. I'm almost obligated to replace myself as a coach with those older kids, maybe the more advanced, developed teams inside of our program. And I'm peeling myself off to really drop back and focus on the Start Baseball Right programs, so that we don't have those ebbs and flows within our organization of the cyclical nature that you'll oftentimes find when you focus on something and then you pass it on, and then you got to come back and start it over. So I would highly encourage, you know, if, when, and as you can, to focus that attention early and often, and leverage. Really what we're doing is, from an organizational perspective, is directing a movie, right? And that movie's going to have a beginning, a middle, and an end from an experiential perspective. And the beauty of what Steve's put together with his scope and sequenced approach toward lesson planning of these practice plans is it builds that. You've got the cascade of the sequential skill set and development that you just got to start building it, putting it together, linking that train up, and then get it moving down the track.
Hey, Mike, before I forget, I just wanted to make sure tomorrow is okay for you and me to talk.
Beautiful. We just got to nail down a time. I'm super excited about it, Steve.
Okay, great. Tommy, go ahead.
well, good. Thanks, Mike. Again, does anybody have anything else? I just kind of want to just reiterate, if anybody's got to jump off, next September 21st, we'll have an open forum leadership meetup. So make sure you guys kind of pencil that in, and we're kind of take a look at your emails. It'll be the same link as before. You won't need to register. Yeah, Steve?
Tommy, I just want to throw out something. We haven't announced it yet, guys. But starting September the 19th on Sunday nights, I believe it is, and I apologize, I think it's 7 Central Time on Sunday evenings. Every other Sunday, approximately, we're going to be doing like the first one is base running. And then the second one is like cuts and relays. And the third one is like rundowns. And you know, we'll publicize these on our website, but there's no cost or anything. And I think we're either going to Zoom or Facebook Live, whatever the best way for us to be able to service the most people. But we would encourage you to get your organizational leaders and your coaches to just, you know, take a look and really, you know, see if any of that information would be a benefit to them as organizational leaders or coaches. I think they're going to find it helpful. We're going to do 20 of these, guys, from September 19th. We'll go all the way through to, I think, the end of May. So I'm looking forward to doing that.
All right. I will have this recording up, either up on our site or the easiest thing, I might share out to the big group, like a Google Drive link where they'll be nested in a folder. Do you guys have any preferences on that? Like, what would you rather see?
All good with me.
Yeah, all good.
Okay, good.
Whatever works.
Good. Okay. I'm always looking for feedback from users. So it's if there's a strong preference one way or the other, I would like to know, but that sounds good to me. So I'll get that going. Guys, thank you so much for spending some time with Steve and I. We look forward seeing you September 19th with that camp, video camp, and then certainly next leadership meetup September 21st.
Thanks very much, everyone. See you later.
Bye, guys. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
participating. Bye-bye.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks.